Hello, Fantasy Nation, and welcome to MDFantasySports.com. I'm your host, Philip C. from the NYC, but all my good friends in Fantasy Nation call me MD. Let's get it started. Okay, it's been pretty down around here lately, around the offices, and, because of the passing of Junior Seau and the Bounty Gate crap, and, let's put some fun back in here. So I said, let's do another version of What the Bleep. On this week's What the Bleep, we have several candidates. Our first candidate is Mr. Floyd Money Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, one of the greatest boxers to ever put on a pair of gloves. I mean, nobody can touch this guy. But the man is a buffoon. He is an idiot. He acts the fool. I've never seen anybody just with his status and with his stature and with his wealth act the way that he does. You would think you walked into his house and it was 1987. It was a rapper who just got his taste of money. Dude, we all know you're rich. We all know you're the best. You don't need to remind us every 3 seconds. Okay? We can remember. And dude, I don't look forward to anybody going to prison. I feel bad about him going to jail. But he put himself there for one. And number two, maybe he needs that time just to think. Get himself together, because I'm sure after they cut the lights out, it's just you, your thoughts, and God. You have to grow a little bit, dude. Just because you were born an idiot doesn't mean you have to die one. Moving on. Okay. Mr. Eli Manning on Saturday Night Live. Hilarious. I never knew that Eli had a personality. I never knew that he had a sense of humor. It is hilarious. You got to check it out if you get a chance. Go to Hulu. Check him out. It is hilarious. Eli Manning is the man. I never knew that he had such a sense of humor. Okay, so next on What the Bleep. Mr. Joseph Adai going to New England. Okay, first I said, I don't care. But then I thought about it. Who does this remind me of? You got a small running back, spent years with one team, never was really much as a fantasy option, not even much as a regular player, to be quite honest with you. Who does that remind me of? Reminds me of Mr. Darren Sproles. Now remember, when Darren Sproles was in San Diego, he wasn't much of a fantasy option at all, except maybe in PPR leagues. You can grab him as a flex option in a PPR, and that's about as good as it got. And then he goes to New Orleans with Mr. Drew Brees, and wow, explodes, breaks all kind of records, and just explodes as one of the best fantasy options of the season. So I thought to myself, could this be what's going on with Mr. Adai? It kind of makes sense. One, they're definitely changing up the offense around Mr. Brady. Of course, it's all Brady-oriented, as usual. But at the same time, it's not going to be the same as the last 2 seasons where you had 2 tight ends as your primary targets. They brought in Brandon Lloyd. They brought in Jabbar Gaffney, so now they have deep threats. Could they be wanting to use Mr. Adai as a third threat out of the backfield? Because he does have pretty good hands, and when you hit him in the open field, he can produce. And we saw it all the year before Peyton went out. They started hitting him in the backfield, and he actually produced. He was actually a decent option that year. Could this be the same thing? Don't know yet. Don't know yet. Have to keep watching. It's still early. It's only early May. But you know what? I think we'll know by June, July, August. Word will start coming out of camp. Word will start coming out of the OTAs. And we'll see what Mr. Belichick has in mind for Mr. Adai. So stay tuned for that one. I'm not saying to draft him just yet, but I'm not saying not to take a late flyer on him. Let's just see what happens. Moving on. Oh, this is my favorite. This week's king of What the Bleep is Mr. Mikel LeSure. Running back, University of Illinois, now with the Detroit Lions in his second year. Mr. LeSure was busted on February 18th for possession of marijuana. Right? No big deal. He gets a slap on the wrist, pay a fine, don't do it again, we'll see you later. 1 month, not even a month later, March 12th, not even 30 days later, he's in the car with a friend. They are smoking weed. There's weed in the car, and obviously his friend is impaired. So he forgets to use his turn signal, and he forgets he's following too close to a vehicle in front of him. So what happens next? Woo! Here comes the blue lights. They hit him, pull him over. He panics, takes the weed, tries to hide it amongst some potpourri in the middle of the dashboard. That doesn't work, so then he panics and just grabs a handful and throws it in his mouth and starts chewing it like it's Hubba Bubba bubble gum. Amazing. Just amazing. The police officer, and this is all part of public record, okay? This is all part of the police report. I'm not making this up. You couldn't make this up if you tried. So the police officer walks up to the vehicle, and he sees the man chewing. He's got weed dripping down the front of his shirt. And that's exactly what he said. There's weed on the front of his shirt. And he pulls him out of the car, tells him to spit it out. He complies. He spits it out. And then he asks him, what were you thinking trying to swallow that? What were you thinking trying to chew that weed? And he said, well, it was mostly potpourri. What? Dude. I am 100% sure that the University of Illinois has a better educational program than what you are representing. Okay? Because they really need to have a common sense 101 for every student athlete before they walk on the field, and a common sense 101 finale, or whatever you want to call it, final exam before they can graduate. Because these players are coming out with no sense at all. Some of them, not all. But that is our king of what the bleep. What the bleep, Mikhail. What the bleep. Dude, your career's 3-4 years tops if you're lucky. All right? Weed'll be here long after you're finished playing. So wait until you're finished playing. Then go home and puff your brains out. Knock yourself out. Have fun. But you know what? You only got a little bit of a window, man, to really make a dent in the NFL. And there's always somebody standing right there ready to take your place. So be smart, dude. Be smart. Leave the weed alone until you finish playing. All right? So, this is Philip C. from the NYC saying, guys, be smarter. And remember, fantasy is real. Oh, man, I love it.